How is it going, everybody? My name is DeMarco, and we have to talk about that PlayStation conference. Holy hell! That was incredible. One of the best gameplay showcases I have seen in a long time. Every moment you said, okay, there's going to be a moment to breathe. I'm going to get to digest what I just saw. I'm going to get to interpret and analyze a little bit. Nope. Bam! They'd smack you with the Wolverine trailer. And then boom! Spider-Man 2, Guardians of the Galaxy, KOTOR Remake, Alan Wake Remaster, and so much more for spoken gameplay. It was incredible. And we're going to be talking about a couple of these titles. Today's video is primarily going to be focused on Spider-Man. So if you want to skip ahead to when I start talking about Spider-Man, I'll leave a timestamp for that. But first, just want to give my general thoughts on the conference. Amazing. The only thing I thought was lacking was actual details about some of these games. We did get a little bit of interviews with some of the development teams in the post-show, although it was very, very brief, and I would have liked to see a little bit more. Now, given the counter argument to that is that some of these games, several of these games, in fact, aren't releasing until 2022, possibly holiday season, possibly the middle, possibly early. We don't know for a lot of these titles, and therefore there's a lot more time for us to get information, whether it's a new trailer, new developer interviews, those sorts of things. So there's plenty of time to get more details, but I would have liked to see a little bit more as opposed to just rapid fire punch, punch, punch. Now, on to Spider-Man in particular, or Insomniac. We should start talking about Insomniac because Wolverine came completely out of left field, and the reception that I've been seeing across social media has been overwhelmingly positive. If anybody was going to make a good Wolverine game, it would be Insomniac. They have proven themselves to handle both Marvel licenses and just games in general really well. From storytelling to design and visuals to gameplay elements, they are truly one of PlayStation's top studios. Wolverine 2, when it was shown off, there's no details, not even a release date. However, what we do know is that it will be coming after Spider-Man 2. That means we have a long wait ahead of us, so maybe a bit too early to tease it in that regard. I could imagine a lot of fans getting frustrated wondering, when are we going to get to see more Wolverine? Is more Wolverine coming? And just sort of that trail as the long wait does transpire. The earliest I imagine that we might see Insomniac's Wolverine is going to be 2025. 2024, if you really want to be optimistic, I don't see it happening. Spider-Man 2 is coming in 2023, so at least 2 years of development between those titles. From what we do know, it is in early development, and it was also stated that parts of the game are playable, so it's early enough where they've seen at least prototypes and very, maybe I would even hesitate to call it alpha footage of the game, but it does exist out there. So that, if some of you want to be that optimistic, there's your little crumb of hope, but I would say 2025 the earliest. As for Spider-Man 2, we have a solid release date in 2023. I say solid, that's the entire year that we have to speculate. I would assume holiday season, I think, is a safe bet, and we'll talk about whether or not that is a feasible release date. Some reasons why I think maybe not, some reasons why I think maybe. We'll discuss that. As for the trailer itself, a lot of details that we can get from the main antagonist being Kraven the Hunter. We'll talk about that, so there you go, a little bit of a spoiler maybe for some of you, as well as the Venom reveal and co-op gameplay, synergized gameplay between both Miles and Peter. We'll talk all about this, but first, from an official source coming from the PlayStation blog, here is what they had to say about the reveal. Let's start with one of the most, you probably could have guessed, titles, Spider-Man 2. We're so thrilled to continue the journey of both Peter Parker and Miles Morales in their most epic single-player adventure yet, coming exclusively to PlayStation 5 consoles in 2023. While pushing the capabilities of the console will be very exciting, we're equally pumped to craft all new stories for Peter and Miles in this sequel. Just as in our previous Spider-Man games, we not only want to tell a great superhero story, but also deliver a compelling human story, one full of heart and humor that dives deep into the people behind the mask. As for the trailer itself, you can check out my in-depth trailer analysis video for the Spider-Man 2 trailer if you're interested. It's a short trailer, but there's a surprising amount of details that are shoved into there, so take a look if you're interested in that. However, we do get to see the reveal of Venom in the game. He's going to probably be one of the main antagonists, or possibly even an anti-hero, as sometimes he takes the form we saw with the recent Venom movie. And then also Kraven the Hunter. Again, in that trailer analysis, I explained all about Kraven and why it's him. For those of you who don't know, Spider-Man is my second favorite superhero, only a smidge behind Batman, so I am really excited. I think he's going to be quite the formidable opponent, and it will be very different from what we've seen in the past Spider-Man games. Just to close out this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about that 2023 release date, right? It always makes me nervous when a game company decides, okay, we're going to release this game in 2023, 2 years from now, you'll finally see it. All it does is make it more susceptible and open to being delayed. Not that delays are an issue, they're perfectly acceptable, and they do of course come with that assumption that you will have a more polished experience, that the game will be more fully developed or more fully realized. Hell, maybe if the delay is long enough, they can implement features that previously were on the fence, on the chopping block as to whether or not they'd be included in the game. I just think it's impossible to say that a game will definitively release 2 years from now. That's hard to make that prediction. You don't know what state. Do you know where you'll be in 2 years? Probably not. So how do you know what state of development that game will be in? Now, I do want to talk about the other side of that, which is they do have a lot of things already primed. For example, the game will most likely be taking place in New York City once again, which means the map is already mostly built. I'm sure there'll be some changes, some updates. Maybe they'll make it a little bit bigger. Hell, maybe a little bit smaller, but that's almost certainly unlikely. Maybe they'll expand beyond New York City just a little bit and start reaching out into some of the borders there and push it a little bit farther. We're yet to see exactly what direction they go in. However, the map's already mostly built for the most part. The character animations and the abilities, the combat systems are already developed. A lot of the gadgets, we'll probably see a return to several of them. The costumes as well, we'll see a return for some of them. So many of the assets of the game, including the animations, the attacks and such, are already prepared. Of course, it does come with the assumption that there will be new ones implemented in there, but if you saw a similar attack animation, or if you saw a similar takedown to something we've seen in Miles Morales or in Spider-Man, then it's not the end of the world. The other benefit to having all of those systems in place is, of course, the fact it means they can focus a lot more on other aspects of the game. I think Spider-Man definitely suffered from a very poor side quest system. Most of them weren't engaging. You know, the labs for Harry Osborn were not very interesting. Some of them were better than others, but ultimately boring. The snapshot challenges that we saw in some of the Spider-Man DLC with that live streamer, I didn't care for. And then certain characters that could have been much more interesting, like Taskmaster, ultimately fell a bit flat when you did finally get to go up against them and fight them. So having a lot of these systems, whether it is the map, some of the animations, the combat design, and how it's going to work and the flow of that, will give them opportunities to expand on a lot of what makes the game really, really good, which is the content, the actual substance of it. And I'm looking forward to that. And it also means that we'll probably be able to reach that 2023 deadline as well. I want to know what you guys are thinking about Spider-Man 2 down in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts on the game. Check out the trailer analysis if you want an in-depth look at what was shown off, and subscribe if you're new, like if you found it informative. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please do leave a like on the video, and as always, I hope to see you all next time. So long, everybody.